The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Deep from the bowels of the Macabre Theater Laboratory, we bring you Macabre Cast. There is nothing wrong with your streaming service. You are exactly where you should be, where the slush puppy machine is always on and cold. Your favorite horror mag is on the rack, discreetly displayed between Women's Wear Daily and Cosmopolitan. I'm your host, Dark Mark, along with my mold-riddled counterpart, Karis, the Little Mummy, here to bring you the latest episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping ours where they belong and adding them where they don't. This is a safe space for those of us who remember only having 5 TV channels, where only 3 of them had good reception. Newbies welcome, regulars welcome back, and worshippers, get out of here. Oh. If you haven't already, like, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and, when I'm not violating infantile community standard rules, TikTok. Tell friends to do the same. Even that guy who, even though we've evolved for thousands of years since the Neanderthals, feels a deep need to scratch within the crack of his bum among his peers. Well, maybe not that guy. If you wish to interact with fellow Monster Kids, follow the Facebook page Macabre Theater. It's there where you can send me a voice message through Messenger and participate in this show. A link can be found in the description of this episode. Or, if you prefer, send me an email at macabretheater666@gmail.com. Macabrecast episode 160 and all of its gory glory begins now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Adoro il cast macabre.
Many Stephen King novels and shorts have been adapted to the big and the small screen, but there are quite a few that have not. My favorite book, Different Seasons, is a novella containing 4 fantastic and very different from each other stories. I guess hence the name Different Seasons. 3 have been adapted to the big screen. Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, The Body, its film title was Stand By Me. The only one not adapted was the 4th and last story, called The Breathing Method. The basis of this tale is about a mysterious gentleman's club in Manhattan where its members gather to tell strange stories. The main story is told by an elderly doctor who recounts how an unmarried pregnant woman is decapitated in a taxicab crash on the way to the hospital.
Well, that story sounds like a real pimp. I'd rather see them adapt his short story, Laurie.
Laurie? I'm not familiar with that one. What's that about, Karis?
It's about a guy, Lloyd, and his new little puppy named Laurie, and one day they come across a giant alligator eating their neighbor.
Well, that sounds very interesting.
So, Doc, I went to see my doctor yesterday. I told him every day I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror, and I want to throw up. What's wrong with me?
What did he say?
The doctor said, I don't know, but your eyesight is perfect.
And on that note, it's time for horror news. The planned Halloween TV series based on the franchise by Miramax has been shelved, reportedly to make room for another film instead. Been there, done that. I was really looking forward to this TV show, but oh well for that. It would have been nice to see some fresh life injected into it, a la Bates Motel. By all means, though, make another movie. Hey, Rob Zombie's not busy. Scream Factory has announced a 4K Steelbook edition of Night of the Comet. Damien Leon has a new horror project in the works to be produced by Sam Raimi. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark sequel is stuck in copyright ownership hell. Lisa Wilcox, star of A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, will be sharing the screen with OJ trial star witness houseboy Kato Kalin in Witchcraft 18. And that's it for horror news. And Draven agrees. Draven the blood-vomiting bat. Children of the night, what messes they make. Don't get me wrong. I'm very much looking forward to Mike Flanagan's take on The Mist. Even though that's already one of the best Stephen King adaptations out there. Mike Flanagan is also involved with the Amazon Prime upcoming TV series of Carrie. But has the Stephen King world of stories run so dry that all we can do is continue to do and redo the same old stories? I think not. Hollywood needs to climb out of its vicious reboot cycle. A short story by Stephen King called A Death, first published in 2015 in The New Yorker and later anthologized in The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, would make a great Western. It takes place in 1889. It's about a simple-minded rancher accused of murdering a young girl and stealing her silver birthday dollar. The townspeople are convinced that he did it. The sheriff thinks that an innocent man may be on the way to the gallows. There are heavy themes of circumstantial evidence, mob mentality, and human judgment. If you're not a Western fan, well, how do you feel about your neighbors? Maybe you have a neighbor that you've been fighting with for years. Well, King's story, A Very Tight Place, from a 2008 collection called Just After Sunset, is about two neighbors, Curtis, a wealthy retired man, and Tim. The two are embattled in legal disputes over property rights. And this keeps escalating. And after Tim's electric fence accidentally kills Curtis's dog, Tim then lures Curtis to an abandoned construction site, forces him into a porta potty, and pushes it over on its side, trapping Curtis inside during an intensely hot Florida weekend. The story doesn't end there. It's about survival and revenge. And in my humble opinion, would make a great thriller.
Grim Facts.
Hi, Macabre Theater, Dark Mark, Monster Kids, everyone else. How you doing? Grim Kim. I'm not doing too good this week. I'm not laughing. I'm in massive pain with shingles, and I urge you guys to go get your vaccine if you're my age. And I regret not getting it because I'm in extreme pain. But at any rate, while I was still putting two and two together what I had, because it's not my first bout, last Friday, Grim Twin and I went to see Backrooms opening day. It was great. I need to watch a second time because I missed so damn much. And maybe I want to explore these, the YouTube about the history of Backrooms. I know there's already a sequel coming out. I've watched a few of my favorite reviewers on YouTube, Spooky Astronaut, just to get a little more insight. And I was with Chris, who has her degree in psychology from Harvard, so it was very interesting hearing all her perspective right in real time or as it was finishing. And it was one of those movies that, I don't know if being big helped me or hindered me. But I'm not going to be able to say his name correctly, but he was fantastic as the lead. Just absolutely perfect for that role. And it's one of those movies, different people are going to get something different out of the movie depending on your own history, your own psyche, all that. So it's interesting, and it's just like the layers to it, just like the back room, are multi-dimensional, 4D, which our little human brains really just can't even comprehend. And I highly recommend it. My son had really urged me to see Obsession instead because it was just doing so well. So that is next up to bat. But it was appealing seeing Backrooms on opening day, especially with my sister, because thank God she translated the movie for me, honestly. And yeah, I definitely have to give it a rewatch. I can see where some people are going to be like, it's not for me. It was slow. They spent too much time on this, and that. I wish they got into the backstory more. But knowing that it's going to have a sequel certainly makes it more understandable and a little more, I think, patient going into it, if you know that this is just the first half of what will at least be a 2-part movie, if not more. And yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sorry, I forget the topic for this week, although it did interest me. And I'm just going to blame my extreme pain I'm in on that. And it just kind of seems like, wow, what else could happen? And it's just the culmination of a lot of things, I suppose. But boy, oh boy, the kind of pain I'm in is literally taking my breath away. And I again urge you guys to get the vaccine, because I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And you know it's bad if you're saying something like that. Okay, make the best of every day. My tiny shred of joy today was calling into Macabre Theater, so thank you. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Well, Grim Kim, I always believed that I was your favorite podcast movie reviewer. Oh! But, oh well for that. Shingles is terrible. I, thank God, have never had that. I did have a friend that had it, and it lasted for months, and I hope that's not going to be the same for you, and we wish you well and hope that you get better. I've heard a lot about the Backrooms. I've actually heard a lot more about Obsession, and a lot of people who have seen both really like Obsession, but I would like to see both films. And honestly, I think I'm more wanting to see Obsession just for this fact that director is slated to direct Chainsaw Massacre remake. I forget if it was the TV thing or a film that was coming, but I know that that's fallen into his hands, and a lot of people that have seen Obsession are very excited about that. So I guess I'll have to see that film to figure out what all the excitement about Chainsaw is. But thank you for the review. Great review. Glad that you and Chris liked it. And we hope to hear from you again real soon. Grim Kim.
You're listening to Dark Mark's Macabre Cast, episode 160. What should be the next Stephen King adaptation? Hey, can I do this every week?
So, I see Cecil has a new little job. He's doing the bumpers now for the show. How did that happen?
Well, Karis, Metal Melody had suggested keeping him busy, giving him something to do, and give him a job. And there's not a whole lot of jobs we can give an 11-year-old, so I thought I'd give it a try.
That kid is a ginormous brat.
Yes, he can be very bratty at times.
Did that poor excuse for a linen cloth call me a brat? Keep it up and I'll kick you right back over to your cat-loving country. Stinky old turd. Big mouth Egyptian reject.
Cecil, are you mouthing off again? You come home this minute.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
I'd like to review one of the lesser talked about Stephen King adaptations, Apt Pupil from 1998. Taken from my favorite book, Different Seasons, containing 4 novellas. Apt Pupil was directed by Bryan Singer and stars Ian McKellen, Brad Renfro, David Schwimmer, and Joshua Jackson. The story takes place in Southern California in 1985, and it's very compelling. It's about a young high school boy's morbid curiosity about the Nazis in World War II, a dark descent into torture and bloodlust. Brad Renfro plays Todd, and he's just discovered that an elderly man he just happened to catch sight of in town one day oddly resembles a missing Nazi war criminal he had read about. Todd is obsessed with World War II and Nazis. So Todd confronts the elderly man named Arthur Denker and reveals that he knows for a fact his real name is Kurt Dusander. He threatens to turn him in, but he also reveals his fascination with the Nazi actions within the death camps. He blackmails Kurt into sharing his experiences with him, and Todd begins spending all of his time with the old man. His girlfriend becomes second fiddle, his grades begin to suffer, and he has to hide letters sent home to his parents who think the sun rises and sets with him. Kurt helps him bring up his grades and begins blackmailing him. The two develop a stranglehold type of friendship that keeps sinking deeper and deeper into the macabre. See what I did there? I love this novella, and I feel at times Hollywood watered down its tale. But all in all, it's a great psychological story about a boy who had everyone around him thinking he was something that he wasn't. I give Apt Pupil 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Oh, check it out!
Horror chap Matt knows all about monsters. He said they were coming to get me tonight.
Hey, Doc Mark, Little Cars, and all the monster kids hang out at the theater this week. It's Horror Chat Matt back again. Well, Doc, I just really want to share some numbers that I saw that were very exciting at the domestic box office for horror movies recently. Over the last 3 weeks, there's been 3 major small studio. A24 is not really a small studio, but it might as well be. Movies that have been released with Obsession, Backrooms, and Passenger, and they've all been killing it at the box office. So I just want to share their numbers because there's been a pretty historic run here. I think this speaks good for horror and audiences that they're looking for original stories, and they're kind of done with remakes and reboots and just sequel after sequel, which is funny because back in the day, that's all that really came out for horror movies. But leading the pack is Obsession, which took in another $26 million, which was actually $1 million more than Star Wars this past weekend. And their budget was only $20 million, so they made their budget back and more because they had a total of $105 million in 3 weeks in the domestic box office. Backrooms, which just opened this past weekend, made $81 million with only a $10 million budget, so they're making some serious bank. And again, this is just domestic box office. And then Passenger, not as crazy box office numbers, but still compared to its budget, is also raking in the dough. And its second week has a total of $15 million domestic box office, which was its budget also of $15 million. So they're making money. So, you know, Hollywood, wake up and smell the coffee here. The audience, theaters aren't dead. People are willing to go to the movies to see new and original ideas. If you have something good, people will come. If you keep putting out the same old crap, well, you're going to get a crappy box office. I don't know how else to explain it to you, Disney. Speaking of things that'll be dead on arrival, I just found out that they are remaking The Birds. No, that's just not going to work. Sorry. I probably won't even watch it. Who am I kidding? I will take it in eventually. I'm certainly not going to the theaters to watch this thing. And I did miss last week's topic of who the best mummies are. Obviously, my mother's number one. But if we're talking horror movie mummies, right off the bat, you're going to go with the OG, Lon Chaney Jr. And then I really enjoyed Arnold Vosloo in the Brendan Fraser mummy movies. Different vibe. And number 3 is Christopher Lee from The Hammer, the mummy movie. And an honorable mention has to go to Natalie Grace in Lee Cronin's Mummy. And as far as this week's topic about which Stephen King novels, short stories, you would like to see adapted that haven't been done so in a movie already, I'm going to go with Eyes of the Dragon from a Buick 8, Doomakey, Joyland, and yes, I know there has been a movie, and it has nothing to do with casting. They just tried to cram way too much into a 90-minute movie. I'm going to still say The Dark Tower. I want a true adaptation of The Dark Tower spread over 3 to 4 movies at least. And those are my picks for which novels have not been turned into movies yet. As always, Dark, make mine Macabrecast.
Yeah, the box office totals are crazy. I'm glad someone around here is good at math. It looks like it's gonna change and kind of elevate the expectation of horror, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yes, it's very appreciated. Thank you, Biweekly Matt.
Biweekly Matt? I don't get it. Biweekly Matt?
What? What do I have to explain? All the jokes? If I had to explain all the jokes, what kind of a show would this be?
And Christopher Lee, 3rd horror chat? 3rd? Okay, to each his own. And the Stephen King books you mentioned, I have not read any of them. So I do not know what any of those are about. I wish you had sold that more. Kind of prepped it. Give a little one-liner of what each were about. Maybe next week, who knows. Always great hearing from you, Horror Chat Matt. We hope to hear from you again, maybe more than every other week.
And now it's time for Real World Horror. And now here's your host, Dark Mark.
On February 2nd, 1996, at the Frontier Middle School in Moss Lake, Washington, Barry Dale Lukatis shot and killed his algebra teacher and 2 students while holding his classmates hostage. Dressed in a Wild West-style gunslinger outfit and wearing a black duster, Lukatis walked from his house to his school and entered 5th period algebra class with 2 handguns, a .22 caliber revolver and a .25 semi-automatic pistol, along with a .30-30 hunting rifle. A 3rd student, a 13-year-old Natalie Hintz, sustained critical gunshot wounds to the right arm and abdomen, but survived. Gym teacher John Lane entered the classroom after hearing gunfire. Lukatis planned on using 1 hostage in order to safely exit the school. John Lane volunteered. Lukatis kept the gun pointed at Lane, who saw his moment and grabbed the weapon and wrestled Lukatis to the ground, keeping him subdued till police arrived. Lukatis' family had fallen apart a year before when his parents separated. His mother constantly spoke of killing herself and how her son, Barry Lukatis, should also kill himself. He even set a date for this to happen, Valentine's Day, 1996. Psychologists for the defense and prosecution argued about Lukatis' mental state. The defense psychologist believed he suffered from bipolar disorder. The prosecution also claimed Lukatis got his ideas from a Stephen King novel called Rage, about a school shooting. Lukatis was sentenced to prison for 189 years. And Stephen King had his book Rage pulled and removed from bookstore and library shelves.
Tune in next time to Real World Horror with Dark Mark.
You're listening to Dark Mark's Macabre Cast, episode 160. What should be the next Stephen King adaptation? Hey, can I do this every week?
Way cool. It's Chicago Tina.
Hey, Dark Mark and Karis, the little mummy. Wow, how you guys doing? What a great topic this week. I have some thoughts on it. One of my favorite Stephen King books, which a lot of people don't mention, is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. And I've been waiting for them to make that into a movie. And I think it's been bounced around for years, but it never happened. I identify with that book in my life because when I was a teenager, I had some dark times. And to get through the dark times, I used to blast Judas Priest in my headphones. And I would always imagine that Rob Halford was my spirit guide, and it would always, to get through some bad things that had happened, I would always just escape into this world. And when I read Tom Gordon, I thought, wow, what a great idea for a movie, I think. But it never happened. And the funny thing is that I kept that escape mechanism through my whole life. I always, would think, what would Rob Halford do? And until the day in the early 90s, when I was going to see Rob Halford's when he did his solo thing in Worcester at the Palladium, and I went into this restaurant because I got there early. I went by myself, and I got there early, so I went into this restaurant to get something to eat, and I sat at the bar because I was alone. And lo and behold, Rob Halford walked into that restaurant and sat down on the next bar stool. I almost died, and I was pretending to read a book, but I could see him in the mirror, and he was talking to the bartender who was from Ireland, and they were, he ordered, I think, a club soda, and at one point he was singing along to a Black Crowes song that was playing in the restaurant. And literally, the bartender brought me my food. I put down the money for it, and I walked out because I didn't have the guts to even say hello or even look at him. So that kind of changed the way my escape route worked, because now I realized he was an actual 3D person. But still to this day, I love Rob Halford and I love Judas Priest. So anyway, that was way off subject. But if you read Tom Gordon, you'd understand what I mean. Well, maybe not that much, but anyway. Also, I'd like to see the book Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, which is, it's kind of connected. It's relative, I guess, because we all know that Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. That would make a really good movie. But that's it. Before I go, I'd like to ask, Mark, did you watch Shutter Island yet? Because, recently you recommended a movie, I think it was an episode 158, and I watched it, and I was really disappointed. And I'm not going to say anything about it, but I will say this. Have you ever seen the movie Barbarian? Because that was a much better movie. And if you know, you know, okay? So you better be watching Shutter Island soon, because I want to hear what you think. All right, then that's about it. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
So I actually did read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, and that's a great book. I guess you could say even only Stephen King could make Getting Lost in the Woods scary, because it was a pretty frightening book, and it was mostly about being lost. And she was a big Red Sox fan, and loved Tom Gordon, had a little radio with her, and she's listening to these games. Now, Tom Gordon, he played from 96 to 99, so it's been like 27 years since he was even on the team. So this would have to obviously be a period piece if they made it nowadays. And then there's probably licensing, because all through it you've got, Remy and the as the game's going on and they're back and forth. So could be a lot of licensing things there. But yeah, it could make a good movie. I never thought that they could make a film out of Gerald's Game, and they did, and it was great. So I'm sure that they could do very well with this. Rob Halford, huge fan, love Judas Priest, love his solo stuff, amazing. And I think I've heard this story from you before, but amazing that you get to meet him. But I just wish he had said something to him. Even if it was, you're so inspirational. I don't know. It's easier said than done, I guess. And yes, Chicago Tina, I love Barbarian. As a matter of fact, if people out there would like to go back and listen to my review of Barbarian, it's on YouTube, and it's episode number 47. I review Barbarian and speak very highly of it. But I did speak with you off show to find out what it was you were so disappointed with that I reviewed, and you said Dolly. Now, listen, I love Barbarian, but I'm sorry. I think Dolly was the better film. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry that you were so disappointed with Dolly. Maybe not a movie for everyone. As I've said, there was stuff in that movie that kind of made me cringe a little bit. And again, I love Barbarian. Love it. Better than Dolly? I don't know. And what can we say about Shutter Island? I will see it, I promised. Hey, I saw Joker, didn't I? Always great hearing from you, Chicago Tina, and we hope to keep hearing from you, no matter how disappointed you might be from my suggestions. Okay, so what are some more Stephen King that I would like to see adapted to film? From the book The Bizarre Bad of Dreams, the story Bad Little Kid about a death row inmate days before his execution for shooting and killing a child. He reveals to his public defender that the boy he killed was no child, but an ageless demon who has haunted him and ruined his life, mostly by causing the death of childhood friends and including later in life his fiancée. Was this bad little kid a demon or a manifestation of this killer's insanity? Also, I'd like to see an adaptation of the two stories from Skeleton Crew, Morning Deliveries, about a milkman who leaves deadly surprises in his customers' milk bottles like snakes and spiders, and the continuing story of Spike the Milkman in Big Wheels, A Tale of the Laundry Game, where two laundry workers finish their shift and bully a mechanic acquaintance friend into passing the car for inspection. Later, on their way home, they notice Spike the Milkman's truck following them. There's also a theme of all the people whose lives coincide with the milkman begin committing heinous crimes as well.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Kara's Little Mummy. Scary Larry here. Just here to establish an alibi. Karis, I had a clever retort, but I got wrapped up in something. Oh well. So this week's topic, I'll have to pass on. Oh. I'm not a fan of Stephen King novels, and I've only read one or two. Now, ask me about Dean Koontz, and I'll take over the episode. Haven't seen anything new horror-wise, as I decided to binge-watch Prime's Spider Noir, starring Nicolas Cage. If you like gritty pulp-type comics, this is something to watch. And there's a couple episodes with some body horror tied in, and I chose the black and white version. Give it a go. One thing I'm finding entertaining, there's 3 horror movies out right now, and I've yet to see them, but I'm planning to. I feel it's shaking up Hollywood and could change how Hollywood, horror, and movies in general are made. Obsession, The Passenger, and Backrooms. What's so special? All are low budget and are currently doing better than the very expensive Disney movie The Mandalorian. Obsession in particular did something rare. It had a better second and third weekend return than its opening weekend. And all three are from so-called YouTubers who are relative unknowns in the movie business, but are extremely popular with a loyal following on social media, and they're having great success in transition. Meanwhile, Hollywood keeps putting out high-budget duds, chasing similar stories to death while fighting against AI taking over completely. This could, in the end, produce a crop of far superior horror films in the near future. Stay tuned like I am.
Laura Horror used to read Dean Koontz all the time. I myself have read maybe one of his, not nearly as many Stephen King, obviously, as I have read. But I'd still like to hear, a brief description of some of your favorite Koontz books that haven't been made to films that you think should be made to films, maybe next week. Would love to hear that. Spider Noir, until you just mentioned it, somehow I knew nothing about it, and I have Prime. So I don't know how that slipped by me. And you basically summed it up with new horror. Yeah, there's big changes going on in the world of cinema and horror. And Horror Chat Matt touched on this earlier, and you're exactly right. And wouldn't you say it's about time? Another King story that I think would make a fantastic film, but it would have had to have been made in the 1970s, because that's when they had the kahunas to make a film like this. Unfortunately, the story was written in 2013, and 1970s filmmakers wouldn't have even had the opportunity. The story is called Summer Thunder, and it was written for an anthology collection called Turn Down the Lights. It's basically about waiting for the end. Nuclear war has happened, and this guy Robinson and his dog are one of the only few people left that have survived. And knowing that the invisible radiation will claim them in just a matter of time, Robinson chooses to go out on his own terms. Another one that's not for those with a queasy stomach is a story called Survivor Type from the Skeleton Crew collection of short stories. It's about Richard Pine, a disgraced surgeon, and a drug smuggler who become marooned on a Pacific island when their cruise ship that they're on sinks. No food, but massive quantities of heroin. And after the good doc breaks his ankle, he has to amputate his foot to prevent gangrene. Then he realizes he has no choice but to eat it in order to survive. He uses the heroin, obviously, to dull the agonizing pain, but this story is truly a psychological descent into madness, and I think would make a great film.
You're listening to Dark Mark's Macabre Cast, episode 160. What should be the next Stephen King adaptation? Hey, can I do this every week?
The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language and violence.
Land sakes alive! Here comes the chairman of the profanity party.
What an absolute jackass.
Hello, Doc Mark, Karis the Little Mummy, and all the Macabre Cast fans listening. Showing up for episode 160. What I'd like to say is that I saw the movie Obsession. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Definitely nothing I'd run to the movie theater to see. Hence, I saw it on TV. It was, and I don't even know how to call it. Not an easy film, but it was like nothing major. Like he broke a thing, made a wish, and, it backfired on him. But the girl that played his love interest was really good at acting like a psycho. Some parts kind of were comical, but it wasn't a bad movie at all. I'm glad I didn't see it in the cinema. Let's put it that way. Mark, I'm dying. At episode 159, when Cecil called me the chairman of profanity, of the profanity party. Too funny. And Cecil, I have never babysat you because I don't babysit little brats, okay? So, no, never babysat you. I've also seen the movie Backrooms. That was friggin' weird, okay? Don't waste your time. And if anybody has a review and says it was a good movie, kiss my ass. Because that movie sucked. It was stupid. It made no sense.
Tell that to Grim Kim. Oh, boy.
Yeah. I wish I didn't see it, but whatever. I saw it. It happened. Whatever. But I'm telling you, don't bother wasting your time. Those are kind of the only ones I've seen besides things like I saw on rerun, you know, like The Nun and The Conjuring and shit like that. Stephen King stories that aren't made into a film was a topic for this week that people would like to see into a film. I never read Stephen King novels, books, or anything, so I can't participate in this topic. Sorry. I'm sure I'm going to get that wah sound too because, you know, people that don't read, like, get bombed on. But whatever. I'm too busy was too busy being active in my life. But I might take reading up when I turn 60. Who knows? I don't know. Kind of looking for a hobby. But anyway, that's about it. I hope everybody has a good week ahead. I'm sure it will be a repeat and it'll be sunny all week and then frickin' rain on the weekend because that's the pattern we're having lately here. Just want to tell everybody, enjoy the good weather when you can. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you again on episode 161. Checking out.
Yeah, I didn't really start taking up reading till I was at least 2,051 years old.
Somehow, Karis, that does not surprise me at all. The Backroom is an obsession. Metal Melody, I think honestly, even outside of this show, I think you're probably the first person that I've heard give these two films a bad review. I mean, these are the films that they're saying is revitalizing horror, putting Hollywood, you know, calling out Hollywood, putting them to the test of what people want. I'm really surprised. I still plan to see both these movies. I don't see myself running to the theater. I probably want to see, as I've said before, I want to see Obsession more. But I'll wait till they're streaming. I'm not going to run out and see these movies. But yeah, just really surprised. Absolutely. But always great hearing from you, Metal Melody, and we look forward to your next call and your next review. Take care.
Goditi questo episodio de Cast Macabro.
Thank you, Maria Monstalia, for telling our Italian friends to enjoy this episode of Macabre Cast. We never see ourselves as others do. Whether you accept that or not, it's true. Stephen King has written over 70 novels and novellas, countless characters. So I ask you, of all these characters, who do you see yourself as? I'd like to think that I'm like Andy Dufresne from Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. But more than likely, people close to me would tell you I have the patience and the anger issues of Jack Torrance, minus the axe and the murder. And no, I would hope Laura Harr doesn't think I treat her like Wendy. But I hope you know what I mean. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Ghoul Night, Monster Kids. Beware the moon. Keep clear of the moors. But most of all, remember, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon, I hope. This is a Macabre Theater production. Subscribe us.